I'm Teal Stetson-Lee, and I ride for the Luna Pro team, and I am going to show you the basics on how to change a chain on a mountain bike. I am an incredibly non-mechanically inclined person. In fact, I absolutely hate working on bikes. But I've come to terms with this, not only because this is my profession, but also because I've found it to be important to be self-sufficient. I'm going to be changing the chain on my Orbea Rallon, and I'll be changing the Shimano XTR 10-speed that I have on here. There's a tight link from a couple weekends ago racing, probably from some aggressive shifting or crashing. Working on bikes can be frustrating, so it's always important to make sure that you have plenty of beer. Just kidding. What's really important is to make sure that you have the right tools for the job. And what I'll be using is my Shimano chain tool. Any good quality chain tool will do. And then I'll be replacing that Shimano XTR 10-speed chain with one that's identical. The very first step that I usually take is to read the instructions. Because being the unintuitive mechanic that I am, it's really important to start with the basics. And once you've read the instructions in English, German, Spanish, and maybe Japanese, then you can start taking a look at the actual project at hand. In my rear cog, I'm going to drop it all the way down to my smallest cog. Also, if you happen to be using an XTR derailleur and you have the Shadow Plus feature, I'm going to turn this off. Now I'm going to actually disconnect the old chain to remove it from the bike. So I'll be using my chain tool for that, and I am going to just pick a link at random. If you're interested in reusing your chain, you might want to look for the original connecting point, also known as the pilot pin. So the chain sits nicely into the chain tool, and then I'm turning this lever. You can hear it pop a little bit. If it's not engaging all the way, you might want to back it off just a little bit to make sure that it's actually engaging with the pin or the connecting point between the links. Once you have the chain disconnected, you're going to pull it out. Like so. And it's important to hold on to your old chain because you're going to be matching your new chain to the length of your old chain. So here's the new chain. Here's the old chain. Obviously make sure you get all the kinks out so that it lies straight. So here at the bottom, so this is the amount that I'm going to cut off, right here. Always measure twice and cut once. I'm going to cut the chain at the point that I measured by placing it back in my chain tool and lining up the pin the same way as before. Sometimes it's harder than it looks. Alright, here we go. If there's one thing you take away from this video, it's the super cool trick about how to put a new chain on. So I push my derailleur back, I thread my chain in through the top, that way it lines up with both pulleys. If you can't remember this, I would highly recommend taking a picture of what your old chain looks like before you remove it so you know how to thread the new one on. Pull the chain out, and I'm going to double it back. Pull it through with my other hand, and remember that I'm going to be lining it up with the smallest cog since that's how I set it up before. I can pull my chain all the way through. Drop it through the front ring. Now we're going to use one of the pilot links, this guy that comes in the package with your new chain, to actually connect the new chain. I'm going to put the pilot link in. By the way, if you happen to be using a Shimano chain, it's really important to notice that it's directional. The lettering on the Shimano chain should always be facing outward. Luckily mine is. So I've just pushed the pilot link through to connect the chain. I'm using my chain tool now. You're just going to push all the way through and get that pin connected. When you back the chain tool off and pull it out, you'll see that there's a final little piece of the pin protruding, and then you're going to use a pair of needle nose pliers like these to grab that piece of the pin and snap it off like that. New chain.